Coming up on this special election edition of Colonial Crossfire. Less than 60 days until Election Day. Republican nominee Donald Trump versus Democratic nominee Hillary Clinton. Joining us on the left, Martin McSherry. On the right, Alec DeFrucia. And I'm your moderator, Andrew Desiderio. This is Colonial Crossfire. "17 months, 2 bitter primary battles, and billions of dollars later, we are finally in the home stretch of this crazy and unpredictable election. Welcome to Season 7 of Colonial Crossfire. I'm Andrew Desiderio, and welcome back, GW. It was an eventful summer, to say the least. Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton traded barbs on the campaign trail almost daily. While Democrats are for the most part rallying around Clinton, Republican National Committee Chairman Reince Priebus has been forced to deal with a plethora of prominent Republicans refusing to back Trump. And WikiLeaks released thousands of internal Democratic National Committee emails, causing a massive shakeup of DNC brass. So, what, if anything, can the GOP do to consolidate support for Trump this late in the game? And should we be worried about a cyber attack compromising the integrity of the ballot box on Election Day? Here to analyze that and more, our student panel. On the left, Martin McSherry, a senior from New York, majoring in political communication and minoring in criminal justice. Martin is the president of the Pre-Law Student Association and an intern at the Brennan Center for Justice. On the right, Alec DeFrucia, a senior from Tewksbury, Massachusetts, majoring in political science. Alec is a member of the GW College Republicans. Thanks to both of you for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Perhaps one of the defining moments of this campaign was this summer when Ted Cruz was booed off the stage at the Republican convention in Cleveland for refusing to formally endorse Donald Trump. It was flat out embarrassing for the GOP, and critics piled on Cruz for violating his pledge to support the Republican nominee. The move has caused a rift within the Republican Party that some say might be irreparable. Meanwhile, the months-long FBI probe into Hillary Clinton's exclusive use of a private email server ended in July when Director James Comey announced there would be no indictment. But Republicans immediately pounced on Comey's assertion that Clinton was, quote, extremely careless in handling classified information, and they haven't let up. Additional FBI documents detailed Clinton's practices.
Then she told the FBI she didn't understand that the letter C meant confidential or even classified in the documents she emailed. On 39 separate occasions, 39, she said she couldn't recall details about her mishandling of classified information, and she couldn't even name one step she took to make sure foreign hackers couldn't get into her totally illegal server.
So, Martin, as this story continues to develop, is the email scandal still a relevant and effective topic for Republicans, and has it worked?
18 months ago, I came on this show and was asked about the emails. At the NBC forum the other day, Hillary Clinton, 2/3 of the questions asked of her were about the emails. And when she was talking about how to defeat ISIS, they told her to hurry up. Look, when we try and explain what happened, it sounds like we're making excuses. There are no excuses. The decision she made was a mistake. She takes full responsibility, and she apologized unequivocally. I'm ready to move on, so are the American people, and so is the FBI. FBI Director Comey said this was not even a close call not to prosecute. He said it was not a cliffhanger. We've spent millions of dollars on a congressional investigation into this that has yielded zero smoking guns, and I think it's time to talk about the issues.
Regardless of that, though, isn't it kind of embarrassing that she didn't know that, for example, the C marking meant something was classified? Shouldn't the Secretary of State be able to identify those aspects?
Yeah, I think it was a mistake, and again, we apologize, but I think that there are more important issues in this campaign.
Alec, 3 weeks after the New York Times first revealed the story back in March of 2015, the FBI said that one of Clinton's computer specialists tried to delete an entire archive of her emails 3 weeks after the story came out. Was that an attempt to evade Freedom of Information Act requests or future inquiries into her email practices?
100%. Hillary Clinton has proven time and time again that she will lie to the American people in order to further push her agenda. Now, as far as the email scandal being irrelevant, that's not true. You look at the latest CNN poll, Trump is plus 15, honest and trustworthy. He's at about 50%, she's at about 35. The American people know that Hillary Clinton is a liar. She used BleachBit to delete those emails to make sure they were never recovered, not even by, Russian hackers. It's 100% relevant, and yes, she knew that there were going to be Freedom of Information Act requests. That's why she kept the server in a bathroom closet in the basement of her Chappaqua, New York home. Hillary Clinton is a liar, and she's been evading the law since she started this campaign.
Do you think Trump's going to continue to hammer Clinton over her emails, and should he?
Yes, 100%. And as we go, the slow drip of the Clinton emails. We like to release them on Friday at 3 p.m. before Labor Day, so no one really pays attention. Yes, he will continue to hammer her, and they will continue to hurt her because, if you can't handle classified information as a Secretary of State, how are you going to do it when you're president? And simply, she's proven she can't.
Martin?
Again, I think we should start talking about the issues that matter to the American people. If Republicans make this an obsessive fixation, as they have, to the exclusion of the issues that actually matter, like keeping our country safe and building an economy built to last for this country, then I think that we're doing a real disservice to
Has
the
it at
American
least
people.
worked, though, in sort of harming her trustworthy numbers?
Just like the forum, are you going to ask the third of your questions about the emails? Yeah, no, I think it has taken a toll. And just like the House Majority Leader, the former House Majority Leader, current House Majority Leader, Kevin McCarthy said, the entire Benghazi Select Committee was designed to make her poll numbers drop. And they spent millions of taxpayer dollars investigating it. And it has yielded no smoking guns.
Mm-hmm. And Hillary Clinton is not the only one under the microscope, of course. Alec, what do you think it says about your party's nominee that these prominent figures, Mitt Romney, Ted Cruz, people who are viewed as leaders or, recently former leaders in your party, aren't backing Donald Trump, and also members of your party who are backing him but are constantly forced to distance themselves from him?
You know what? I think that this notion that there's a rift within the GOP is wildly overblown. Donald Trump won the support of the voters. At the end of the day, Mitt Romney doesn't pick who the president is. The voters pick who the president is. So whether Mitt Romney wants to endorse Donald Trump or whether Ted Cruz wants to endorse Donald Trump doesn't matter. Will the voters pick Donald Trump? I think that they will, ultimately, on Election Day. So, you look at the Democrat Party with Bernie Sanders. I mean, there are fewer Sanders supporters supporting Clinton than Cruz backers not backing Trump. So there's more of a rift in the Democrat Party than in the Republican Party, and it's greatly overblown.
Martin?
That's an interesting number, that there are more Cruz supporters supporting Trump than Sanders supporters supporting Clinton. There were 15, 16, how many? 18 candidates in the Republican field? There's a much bigger rift in the Republican Party because this guy's unfit to lead. I agree with Marco Rubio. He's a con man. He defrauded the Trump University people. He had a fake university. This guy is completely unfit to lead. He does not have the temperament to lead this country. And Republicans agree with us. That's why many of them, former officials, current officials, are coming out in droves to support Hillary Clinton.
Alec?
And now, if I may, you keep hammering on the temperament. Now, I think that we're past that. Trump proved last week that he has the temperament to be commander-in-chief, yet you want to move on past the emails.
What did he prove last week?
He went to Mexico. He sat with a...
and he choked and lied. They didn't. He said that
didn't
they
choke
did
and
not talk
lie.
about the they said he did not talk about the wall. But
did
President
not
Nieto,
discuss the wall.
President Nieto said, I told you flat out, I'm not paying for the wall. And
Right,
he's not going to pay for the wall.
But there wasn't necessarily a discussion about the wall. You can say flat out, I'm not going to pay for it. Look at
They're
Trump,
never going to pay for the wall.
But yes, they will pay for the wall. Because
No, they won't.
Yeah, yes, they will. But
Why?
Because we'll get
Because
to how
he
we're
made a
gonna,
trip to Mexico?
No, because we right now have a $50 billion, in 2015 we had a $50 billion trade deficit to Mexico. We are their largest importer. We import the most stuff from Mexico. If we stop importing things from Mexico, they're going to feel the hurt.
And so will we. So will the American consumer. It'll be a direct tax on the American consumer, by the way, hitting lower income Americans the most because a higher proportion of their income is spent on goods produced in other countries.
Now, it's funny. Now, you talk about hitting lower income Americans the most, and meanwhile, Hillary Clinton has been on the record saying that she wants to crack down on the sharing economy. She said, her words, crack down. Now you want to talk about hurting lower income Americans. The sharing economy allows people to, be independent contractors, to be their own boss, to go out and earn money, use their homes, use their cars to earn money. And meanwhile, Hillary Clinton wants to shut it down because her friends in the labor unions want them to have a boss, want them to punch in 9 to 5, want them to pay union dues. So if you're going to talk about who's actually going to hurt lower income Americans, Hillary Clinton has has said time and time again that she will hurt lower-income Americans.
Alex, let's move forward on this immigration issue. Why has Donald Trump seemingly been unable to explain where he stands when it comes to what we do with the 11 million undocumented immigrants in this country today? His positions have been sort of in flux lately, have they not?
They have been a bit in flux, but as Hillary Clinton likes to say about gay marriage, he has evolved. We know we are not going to deport 11 million people. There is not going to be a deportation force. Trump knows that this is a blatant disregard of our civil liberties.
This is almost how he got the Republican nomination, right? Running on this issue of we're going to deport all these people.
No, he ran on the issue of we are going to have a strong line on immigration. The first the first presidential candidate to do so in a long time. With that being said, the people who are here will be able to stay here, and we will legalize them. But we're not going to allow them to become citizens.
This is an astonishing flip-flop. Donald Trump said he would deport 11 million people humanely, because you can tear apart families humanely, with a special police force depriving people of their rights to due process. So are you saying he's completely flopped on that issue?
It's
100%?
It's not a flop. It's an evolve.
So he's not
it's an
deporting.
evolution.
They
No.
all get to stay here except for the criminals?
Yeah, right. I mean, Hillary Clinton even agrees that violent criminals should go.
Right on.
And you can agree that violent criminals should go.
Immigrants commit crime at a much lower rate.
But I think
than native-born
I
Americans.
think the underlying issue here is: are we going to allow these people to become citizens?
So they should have a second-class status, is what you're saying?
They should be legal residents.
So they should have a second-class status.
Yes,
and you
because
don't want them to vote, right?
No,
that's what you really want.
Well, no, that's not why. Because they came here illegally. There is a line of people looking to come into the United States right now.
Mm-hmm.
And meanwhile, these people came in illegally, so we should just grant them citizenship. That's not fair. It's not fair to people trying to go through the process legally.
We shouldn't tear apart families, and we shouldn't create a class of second-class citizens who do not get the same rights as other people just because they came here without documents.
Martin, I just want to move on for a sec. Are Trump's views truly Republican in nature, or is the party undergoing some sort of ideological shift and they'll still be here post-Trump?
So, I mean, this has always been simmering, and I think these kind of racial hatreds, calling Mexicans criminals and rapists, playing to the worst fears, dividing us, has been simmering in the Republican Party for some time, but it has not been at the top of the ticket for a long time either. And I think that with Trump, you've sort of seen the inmates take over the asylum. So I hope it changes, because I think we do deserve a big debate over the issues and not this kind of really divisive rhetoric. So I want the Republican Party to be the party of Mitt Romney and of Jeb Bush and of issues, but we'll have to see how this election turns out.
Alec, I got 15 seconds. I'll give you the last word.
Donald Trump has moved the Republican Party more in touch with its base. We've been ignoring the base for 30 years. Donald Trump has definitely made a change. Has he completely changed ideological shift to the Republican Party? No, there's no realignment. Trump has made some additions. Trump has made the party more in touch with the base.
All right, and coming up after the break, we'll turn our focus to foreign policy and national security issues. Stay with us.
Raise high. This isn't just our battle cry. It's our call, our challenge. Because when you are called to Washington, you are called to higher expectations, to a higher standard. We are called here to advance knowledge, to serve society, to change the world. This is the George Washington University, and what we make is history. So stand up, be bold, take risks, press on, push harder, raise high.
Welcome back. The fight against ISIS has taken center stage in the foreign policy debate between the two candidates. But as evidenced in the recent NBC News Commander-in-Chief Forum, neither candidate has a targeted, specific plan for eradicating the terror group. The past few months, we've seen terror attacks abroad, instilling fears in Americans that similar attacks could be carried out here on American soil. Donald Trump has proposed a, quote, complete and total shutdown of Muslims entering the U.S., later backtracking by limiting his ban to people coming from countries that are hotbeds of terrorism. Clinton has called Trump's proposals ineffective and even xenophobic, and she recently hit Trump for his praise of Russian President Vladimir Putin, whose government is thought to be behind the hack of the Democratic National Committee.
I think it's quite intriguing that this activity has happened around the time Trump became the nominee. He, furthermore, has praised Putin. He seems to have this bizarre attraction to dictators, including Putin.
So, Alec, is it right for Donald Trump to be praising Putin when even many of his own members of his own party have been saying he's an aggressor who harms American interests abroad?
No, I disagree with the outright praise of President Putin, but I think what it speaks more volumes is that President Putin thinks that he can hack United States elections without repercussions. The Obama administration has proven weakness on the world stage, and because of this weakness, Putin knows that if he messes with our elections, little will happen, because Barack Obama has proven that he's weak. So with that being said, I don't agree with Trump's praise, but I think what needs to be spoken is that Barack Obama has made the United States weak internationally.
Well, hold on. Trump has praised Putin, though. He said at the Commander-in-Chief Forum the other night, he said he's a better leader for his nation than President Obama is for our nation.
Right.
So isn't that praising him?
It is praising him, and I did just say, if you heard me, that I don't agree with the praising of President Putin. But with that being said, Obama has made us weak, and Putin knows that if he messes with our elections, that there won't be repercussions.
Martin?
We heard you, but it's crazy that you're embracing this flip-flop, or you're flip-flopping right here about Donald Trump saying that about Vladimir Putin. Since Vladimir Putin became president, 34 journalists have been killed in Russia, and many of those have remained unsolved. You think Hillary Clinton is not open to the press? You cannot declare support and admiration for a dictator when your campaign manager has secret ledgers owing him $12 million
You're referring to Paul Manafort.
from Ukraine. Yes, he made his career supporting a pro-Russian dictator, and Donald Trump Jr. said that Russians make up a pretty disproportionate cross-section of a lot of our assets. We see a lot of money pouring in from Russia. Maybe the reason you disagree with Trump is because you don't have any interests in Russia. And your campaign manager did not build his career propping up pro-Russian dictators. This is tremendously concerning. I agree with you. He should have never praised Vladimir Putin. But the reason he's doing that is because he has these interests and because he loves being flattered and complimented, and he has become an unwitting agent of the Putin regime.
But if you heard, okay, to say he's an unwitting agent of the Putin regime.
The former director of intelligence said that, not me.
Michael
Under
Morrell.
Bush. Yes.
Look, with that being said, to say that, Hillary Clinton is not a flip-flopper, now look, what Trump's praise of Putin is wrong, and I agree with you, 100% we can both agree there. Paul Manafort's no longer with the campaign. Mm-hmm. He's gone. So to say my campaign manager is, again, blatantly false. He's no longer with the campaign. He's gone. Mm-hmm. Now, with that being said, the Russians, okay, they know that they can be aggressive towards us because Barack Obama has proven us weak on the world stage. Now, Trump said yesterday, and you heard this, that he said that no compliments will get Putin in better standing with him. He said that. So with that being said, look, Putin is aggressive, and he's aggressive towards us because he can be. And I think that's the issue that needs to be addressed.
Stop complimenting the guy and start talking about the journalists being killed and the suppression in Russia. And stop hiring as your campaign manager. I agree, Paul Manafort's no longer the campaign manager. You have 2 out of the 3 who assaulted women, and then the other one was a pro-Russian dictator. Have been charged with assault or battery.
Okay, no, we can't, who's been charged with assault and battery?
The first one, Bannon was...
Bannon was not. These are all alleged. Look, these are just as alleged as Bill Clinton's sex
and as
scandals.
Roger Ailes.
Right, so these are all alleged. So to call the Trump team sex abusers is the equivalent of...
I want to get back on track here. We were talking about Putin. Alec, whether we have a President Clinton or a President Trump, what can we expect that relationship to be like with Vladimir Putin going forward?
Cold. Putin wants to reestablish, and has to an extent reestablished, his hegemony in Eastern Europe. And he will continue to do so. So unless we take a hard line, the only candidate that will take a hard line against Putin is Trump. Clinton had her Russian reset, and that didn't work out too well. Clinton has proven that she's weak on the world stage. Donald Trump will take a hard line against Putin and protect American interests abroad.
Martin, I want to move on to national security. Hillary Clinton has called Donald Trump's proposal to ban certain people from coming into the country xenophobic. Is that a little bit extreme?
No, it's not at all. It's completely unconstitutional and offensive to propose a ban for all the Muslims. Has he flip-flopped on this too? I mean, he has not said he is rolling back the Muslim ban. He said that this new plan of extreme vetting is an expansion of that. Until he disavows what Mike Pence called offensive and unconstitutional, the ban of all Muslims coming into this country, a religious test in violation of the First Amendment to the United States, then this is a farce. What are we talking about here? Well, why are we having this conversation if he has not disavowed that disgusting policy?
Alec, is the conversation worth having?
It is 100% worth having. He has disavowed it.
No, he didn't. He said it's an expansion, not a rollback. I want a rollback. I want a complete disavowal of that disgusting policy. Mike Pence and I both agree it is offensive and unconstitutional.
Right. Anyway, he changed it to no immigration from countries.
Expanded it, he said.
Okay. No immigration from countries that are hotbeds for terrorism, which is 1,000% legal.
Which is all Muslim countries? And all Muslims in other countries, in Western countries. What does that mean?
No. All Muslims, what you're missing here is that it's just countries that are hotbeds for terrorism. You know what it means. These are the countries that make gays walk off cranes. These are the countries that don't allow women to drive. These are the countries that don't allow women to vote. If you want people coming in here who could perform acts of terrorism, then you can, roll back. He has disavowed his claim. It's not a Muslim ban. These people...
He hasn't rolled it back. He specifically said it's not a rollback. And if you want to let people in fleeing the barbaric hellscape that is the Islamic State, the people fleeing that kind of repressive caliphate where they force gays to walk off cranes, as you said, they're trying to come here because they hate that. We need to be a beacon for the world.
But to say that these people want to leave their homes is not true. Donald Trump has proposed building safe zones within Syria, protecting these people. They want to be at home. No one wants to pick up and move 4,000 miles, to the United States. They want to stay. That's where their families are. That's where their lives are. That's where they can make a livelihood. So if we make these people safe in their own countries, they will stay there.
Will that require ground troops?
It will not require ground troops.
No, it's not. So we'll just bomb all around it, and then it'll be perfectly safe there?
No, I mean, of course.
It's a farce.
Alec, how would this extreme vetting process work?
It's pretty much to make sure that these people will assimilate. I mean, at the end of the day, we want these people to become Americans. But we can't allow them to become Americans if they will perform acts of terrorism against our country. So, are they willing to accept Western values? Do they agree with women should be able to vote? Do they agree that women should be able to drive?
Is that a questionnaire?
I mean, of course, but you know it's not a question.
Is an ISIS person going to say, I hate all Americans, and I never want women to vote, and by the way, I believe in Sharia law and the downfall of America on a questionnaire?
So what constitutes Western values then?
It's just a basic acceptance of liberty, the acceptance of equal rights for women, equal rights for gays. The right
equal rights for gays.
Equal rights for gays,
Very interesting.
Of course. I mean, Donald Trump has proven time and time again.
Your party platform is the most anti-gay in history. Very interesting.
But Donald Trump has proven time and time again that the Republican Party will stand up for the rights of gay people.
So he's disavowed that as well, but he doesn't support gay marriage or equality.
No, he doesn't. But what I'm saying is that marriage is not necessarily the equal right. Now, marriage is legal, so it doesn't. It's not, and it's.
It is, according to the Supreme Court.
Right, and it's legal. So as far as I'm concerned, that battle's over, and we need to move on. And
not over if he appoints new Supreme Court justices as he will as president.
You mentioned it before, Martin, but sort of these plans to eradicate ISIS. Hillary Clinton has said no to ground troops, but we already do have thousands of troops in Iraq and Syria, whereas Donald Trump, Alec, has said, I have this master plan to fight ISIS and eradicate them, but I'm not telling any of you about it. And Hillary Clinton's response has, of course, been, well, he's not telling you about it because he doesn't have one. What do you make of this dynamic here?
Donald Trump's plan may include ground troops. There are already troops on the ground in Iraq and Syria. We destabilized the region when we pulled out and didn't leave a residual force. When Barack Obama said, I'm leaving and I'm heading out. Barack Obama has ignored his generals. I mean, he's had generals fired. Stanley McChrystal was fired for speaking out against the administration. Donald Trump will leave the foreign policy up to the experts, which is what needs to be done. These men have spent their lives, have made their careers in the military. They've made their lives on counterterrorism. Allow them to drop the plan to defeat ISIS.
Martin, what do you make of Hillary Clinton's plan when she says we don't want to use ground troops in the region when there are already thousands of U.S. troops who are acting in both advisory and special forces roles in that region?
Right. Special forces and advisory is totally different than combat troops on the ground. And you'd probably have to get several 100,000 in order to do another full-scale invasion that would further destabilize the region.
But some of these troops are, 20, 50 miles from Raqqa, the capital of ISIS.
Right. But I still think it's important to have ground troops and advisors, but not a full-scale ground war, which is, I think, what people are proposing. And is the door open on that for you?
No. As far as I'm concerned, no, we should not have a full-scale ground war.
So just more of what Obama's doing then?
No, what I said is Obama has, squashed the opinions of his generals. We should,
which is why so many more generals and foreign policy experts have come out and endorsed Hillary Clinton.
Okay, so before we wrap, real quick, I want a prediction from both of you. Who's going to win the election? I think I know what you guys are going to say. And what do you think the margin is going to be? How many electoral votes? Martin, I'll start with you.
I'm not going to get complacent. This will be a close election. I think Hillary Clinton's going to win, but it's going to be a tough fight, and we got to stay vigilant, and we all got to show up to vote. Register to vote, show up to vote. It's pleasing for me to see that courts have struck down suppressive voter laws in places like North Carolina for this election, so that way we can all have broad voter participation and make our voices heard.
I think that message about voting and registering to vote goes for everyone. Alec, what's your take?
Trump wins. It's close. I put him at 276 to 264-ish. He gets a higher turnout of white voters. He pulls roughly 15% of black voters. He gets 30% of the Hispanics.
You think he's going to get 15%? He's polling at 1 right now.
He's polling in fourth, behind Gary Johnson and Jill Stein.
No, it's actually funny. If you read the Boston Herald, Franklin Pierce poll had Trump at 19% with black people and 36% with Hispanics. So,
outlier.
So I think that there will be some pickup there, and he'll put together a coalition. He'll win Wisconsin. He'll win the Maine too, and he'll be able to win the presidency.
All right, we're out of time. Thank you, guys. After this break, it's rapid fire. Stay with us.
Great journalism matters because it's critical to a democracy that the public is informed and engaged and involved. And that happens by having credible information. And so the most important thing, whatever the delivery platform, whatever the technology, whatever the business model, is that the information itself is coming in solid and important ways and is being conveyed in compelling ways because there's so much noise and competition out there. And so that's what I really want our students to be able to do, be brilliant storytellers, keen observers, and compelling communicators.
Over the fall semester, GW student-athletes have participated in over 4,800 hours of community service throughout the DC metro area. In a competition organized by Helper Helper, GW has completed more service hours than any other NCAA Division I or Division II institution. We are now in our final week. Follow GW Sports and Helper Helper app on Twitter to see the final rankings.
Welcome back. Our panel joins us again for rapid fire, some quick answers to some quick questions. San Francisco 49ers quarterback Colin Kaepernick recently refused to stand for the national anthem, protesting racial inequality and police brutality in the U.S. President Obama said Kaepernick has the constitutional right to continue his demonstration. Martin, do you support Kaepernick's decision?
I'm not about to tell black Americans that they cannot non-violently protest these shootings of unarmed black Americans. That's a fundamentally American thing to do, and I fully support his right to do it, and I sympathize with the cause.
Alec, a lot of other players seem to be joining that protest. Some members of the Seattle Seahawks said they're going to kneel at their first game of the season in solidarity with this. What's your take?
Fully support Kaepernick's right to non-violently protest. I think we can both agree that that is a very uniquely American thing to do. I don't think that this is the platform to do it. I don't think this is appropriate. What Kaepernick doesn't seem to understand is that the national anthem and the American flag represent the highest of American ideals. And for that, for all the people that have died for those ideals, we owe it to stand. We owe it to show our respect to our flag and to our country.
All right, back to 2016. Donald Trump has faced criticism from both sides of the aisle for his decision to hold off on releasing his tax returns, with his opponents claiming he's hiding important and relevant information from the American public. Alec, do voters have the right to see Trump's tax returns in the tradition of every single presidential candidate in modern political history?
That's up to Mr. Trump. That's up to the voters. If you want to see Mr. Trump's tax returns and he won't release them, don't vote for him.
But do you want to see them?
Me personally, no, I don't.
Martin?
It's great that you say it's up to the voters, because 64% of Americans think he should release his tax return. So we're going to have a landslide if all the voters should think with that. But so you and I agree that he shouldn't be praising Putin, but release his tax returns so we can see what is the source of our disagreement with Donald Trump. It may be substantial interest in Russia or with Russian oligarchs. And I also agree with Trump campaign manager Kellyanne Conway, who previously said that he should release his tax returns.
And for the record, Mike Pence has said both he and Donald Trump will release their tax returns, so we'll see if that ever happens.
Trump's not going to do it before the election, guaranteed.
The U.S. and China are now officially part of the Paris climate deal, marking a huge step toward its official ratification. Many critics of the deal argue that it does not go far enough to enforce environmental standards. Martin, do you think the agreement will be effective in combating climate change?
Yeah, this is the first comprehensive global agreement on climate change. Groups across every sector of society are going to begin reducing harmful carbon pollution that we know, that science has proven, is contributing to the phenomenon of climate change, which is going to be one of the biggest issues in our lifetime.
Alec?
No, this is a power grab by the Obama administration. He's skirting the United States Senate by not putting it up for a vote for ratification. This is an attempt to further enforce the Clean Power Plan, to further put low-income Americans out of work, and to make energy more expensive and less affordable for Americans everywhere.
All right, and Libertarian presidential nominee Gary Johnson's chances of reaching the 15% polling average required to participate in the presidential debates appear to be dwindling. Johnson's ceiling in most polls is hovering around 12%. Alec, do you think the 15% threshold is too high, and should Governor Johnson be a part of the debates?
If you don't know what Aleppo is, I don't think you should be able to debate. Now, 15% is perfectly fine. Look, he won't get there. We know he won't get there. He's no Ross Perot. If he gets there, fine, put him in the debates, but I can tell you right now he's not going to be in the debate.
Martin?
15% seems like a fine cutoff. I agree, someone who doesn't know what Aleppo is should not be on that stage. But then again, we also have someone who led the birther movement is going to be on the stage. So perhaps
that Hillary Clinton started.
The birther movement was not started by Hillary Clinton.
We are not going to litigate
No way. No way.
Yes, she started it.
Let's settle on a good note. All right, with that, we end our debate here on Colonial Crossfire. Thank you so much, Martin McSherry and Alec DeFrucia, for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
When we come back, I'll sit down with a cybersecurity expert to talk about the possibility of a large-scale hack of the ballot box on Election Day. Don't miss it.
We have a big problem on college campuses, and it's on us to stop it.
It's happening at bars, at parties, even in residence halls.
It's happening to our friends, and it's happening to our teammates.
It's called sexual assault, and it has to stop.
There's no consent, or someone can't consent. It's rape. It's assault.
It's wrong, and it's a crime.
If I saw it happening, I would do something about it.
If I saw it happening, I'd speak up.
If I saw it happening, I'd help, not blame.
Because I don't want to be part of the problem.
I want to be part of the solution.
We need all of you to be part of the solution.
This is about respect. It's about responsibility.
It's up to all of us to put an end to sexual assault.
Because one is too many.
And it's on us to stop it.
Welcome back. There has been a lot of talk on the campaign trail about a, quote, rigged election. Those suggestions are largely not based in fact. However, cybersecurity experts have warned about the possibility of a large-scale hack of the ballot box on Election Day and how easy it would be to pull off. Russia is believed to be responsible for the recent breaches involving the Democratic National Committee as well as Arizona's electoral system. So what's behind Russia's apparent desire to tamper with our elections? And how realistic would it be for hackers to throw the country into chaos on Election Day? Joining me now is Dr. David Allen Greer, a GW professor specializing in technology, information systems, and computers. Dr. Greer, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So, assuming this was Russia, how on earth did they pull this off?
Well, I mean, hacking in this modern day and age is fairly straightforward. We have a lot of knowledge out there, and a lot of it resides in Russia. After the breakup of the Soviet Union in '92, there was this brief period when Russia thought it was going to start up a bunch of small-scale entrepreneurs around Moscow and St. Petersburg, and they failed very quickly. But many of the technical people involved, who had come from army and from state-owned enterprises, went off in kind of an entrepreneurial way and started hacking.
Interesting. Okay. So could the DNC have done anything differently in your mind to sort of protect themselves from this type of cyber attack?
Well, I don't know exactly what they did do, but my general experience is that any organization can do more, and that many organizations, particularly those that are run by volunteers or have a high turnover in staff, have grossly unprepared and undefended systems.
Do these hacks, the ones with the DNC and Arizona's electoral system, do they imply that our nation's overall cybersecurity is sort of at risk?
Well, yes, I mean it is, but that's true from so many aspects. The issue is, of course, that what defends our cyber infrastructure is not the same thing that can defend our physical infrastructure. There's no easy boundary that you can draw. And that makes it very hard, and that puts a great deal of responsibility on the individual organizations.
So pivoting now to Election Day, do you share the worry that our electoral system at large could be at risk for some large-scale, massive cyber attack that would sort of change the outcome of the election or do something to minimize average Americans' trust in the result?
Well, we've seen a lot of challenges with electronic voting going back to 2000. There are vulnerabilities, there's no question. There are several things that help us in that voting is a state activity, and each state sets it up differently, has different contractors, and it would be difficult there's a lot of target out there that you have to hit to bring down the national system. Will we see problems like we've seen in Florida back in 2000 or in North Carolina in 2004 or in a variety of other states since? Yeah, I suspect we will.
So does this mean that states should then consider switching to paper ballots?
Well, there are problems with paper ballots too. I mean, you count them by hand, and that actually has its own problems of error. The expense is also great because you have to physically ship them out. You have to have a distribution network and a network for bringing them back together. It's not an obvious and straightforward switch.
A lot of states also allow voters to sort of cast their ballots over the internet, certain types of voters. Is that something you think would be a good idea?
That has some of the same problems, and it also has the age-old problem of agency. Who is doing the voting?
So sort of overarching then, how could a hacker even pull something like this off? How could they get into our system?
Well, it's not our system, it's our systems, it's plural. And the exploits, the weaknesses of these systems are probed by all sorts of people, and they're out there on the area of the internet we sometimes call the dark net, and also on just widely available public spaces, descriptions of what these weaknesses are and how to exploit them. You may recall that not that long ago, the District of Columbia, I believe it was 2012, deployed its new electronic system and said, try to hack in. And it was in less than 4 hours that the University of Michigan did it. And they elected, that robot from Futurama to be the head of our school board. These exploits are out there and they're well known. What is needed first and foremost is a well-trained and well-disciplined staff that sets up your system and knows how to defend it. And of course, the biggest problem is that voting in the precincts is run by volunteers. And it's often run by volunteers who are not that clear on how technology works and are not as disciplined as a full-time regular employee would be, using the right key, setting things up the right way.
So does this come down to then politicians, campaigns, institutions just simply hiring the right people to manage this stuff?
Part of that, part of it's using the right process, part of it's thinking about it in the right way. Traditionally, before we had electronic voting, we relied on poll watchers and kind of a contentious process of people challenging each other's votes to make sure things were done well. And that process isn't as easy to do in the modern day and age.
And finally, Dr. Greer, why should voters care about cybersecurity this time around, especially this time around?
They should always care about it. Our modern age is an age of transactions, and increasingly many, if not most of our transactions are conducted by machines, and we want them to be secure so that we know what our intent, our desire, what the transactions we want to do are done properly.
All right, and we certainly hope that our ballot box will stay secure. Dr. Greer, thanks so much for taking the time today.
Thank you.
And when we come back, Casey Decker has our debate fact check. Welcome back. During our panel discussion, a team of fact-checkers monitored our debate. Casey Decker is here to fill us in on what we missed. Casey?
Andrew, a couple of factual missteps from both sides today. First, our liberal panelist Martin said the Paris Agreement is the first ever comprehensive global agreement on climate change. That's not true. In 1997, nearly 200 countries adopted a climate treaty called the Kyoto Protocol. However, the United States was not one of those countries. They declined to ratify the protocol. Martin also said current Trump campaign manager Kellyanne Conway called for Trump to release his tax returns. Conway did say she wanted to see the returns back in April, but since joining the campaign she has changed her view, saying Trump should wait until his audit is completed to release the returns. As for our Republican debater Alec, he said Hillary Clinton began the birther movement. While in 2008 some of her supporters were some of the earliest birthers, Clinton herself never suggested Obama was not born in the U.S. Alec also said Clinton used a software called BleachBit to prevent anyone, including potential Russian hackers, from accessing her deleted emails. BleachBit is used to clean hard drives, but most computer security experts say it's a fairly common and amateur tool, not one sophisticated enough to, by itself, suggest malicious intent. That's all for the fact check. Andrew?
All right, thanks, Casey. And now for Spilled Milk. Here's our tribute to the very best of late-night political comedy.
Today, my love has gone away. The bottle stands so long.
And Trump actually, he got a warm reception from this congregation. You know, they even gave him a prayer cloth that they put on him there. Yeah, that's nice. You can see he's confused though. He's like, oh, you guys put it on the shoulders. My other friends put the white sheet over the head.
Now, Hillary reportedly used the specter of a Trump presidency to raise money, telling the crowd of mega-rich donors, quote, "I stand between you and the apocalypse." Of course, it was the Hamptons, so the apocalypse is technically when they run out of rosé.
I also just want to point out, refusing to give back a dog to flood victims, but naming the dog after the most famous flood victim of all time is just cold. Hi, I'm Pam. This is my daughter kidnapped.
We just saw Mr. Trump here. I asked him, how did it go? And he said, great. And he said he learned a lot of things. What do you think he took away from today?
My luggage.
Okay. Looks like Dr. Carson is going to try and find his luggage, and he'll be right back with us.
I love it so much. This is going to be my new party move. Like, if I'm with someone and they're like, so I just started this new juice cleanse, I'm going to be like, my luggage.
All right, well, that's all for this episode of Colonial Crossfire. For all the latest updates from our political team at any time, be sure to follow us on Twitter and like us on Facebook. And check us out online at www.gw-tv.com. For all of us here at GWTV, I'm Andrew Desiderio. Thanks for getting caught in the crossfire with us. We'll see you right back here next time.